What's good, NBA fans, and happy NBA Day. Thank you for tuning in to the very first edition of the Weekly Pull-Up. I'm your host, Tony Ramsey, where I give you my view, my take on what's going on in the NBA lately. You get the latest news, additions, what I think is going to happen, my view on everything, clean and cut, unbiased. And if you have any questions, any feedback, anything that you want to offer to the show, please feel free to either leave me a comment down below. You can reach me on Twitter. I'll drop that at the end of the video. That way you guys have my handle there. And you can please make sure that you do subscribe to the channel and also hit that notification icon. So whenever I upload a new video on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you guys will be notified right away. You can tune in, give me your point of view, let me hear your opinions of everything, and let's get into it. So without any further ado, talk about the latest news in the NBA from, let's say, since the beginning of training camp, Jimmy Butler. The situation there in Minnesota where reportedly he requested a trade, let's say 4 days after the season ended. It didn't happen. Training camp came up. The news leaked that he wanted to be moved publicly. He still is a member of the Timberwolves, with them playing their first game later on this week. And he's had some beef with Andrew Wiggins, reportedly, with Anthony Towns. He thinks they're soft. I kind of agree with him. I can't really fault him there. If you look at some of the data there, both Cat and Wiggs had worse seasons with Jimmy Butler in town, but the team had a better record. Now, if you quantify what they can produce when they are not being challenged by a veteran like Jimmy Butler, who comes from hard times, then maybe the Timberwolves could have been a real contender. They still could be a real contender. But given all the drama, they're probably going to end up out of the playoffs. We'll get into that a little bit later on when I do drop my predictions for who will be the 8 seeds in the East and the West, and I'll give you guys a breakdown of what I think about each team. Now, you also have lately the Knicks. They recently released Joakim Noah, which took them forever. No idea why they kept him around this long, but he's finally a free man. They're finally a free team, but this is the Knicks we're talking about here. Not much is probably going to change there. Porzingis is probably out, so let's say January, February, sometime around then. I think he probably shouldn't play until March or April when the season's already wrapped up. They're already going to be a lottery team anyway, so what's the sense of rushing them back into the court? But they do have some good young pieces that they can possibly build upon, and even if those pieces don't really work out well, you do have Kevin Knox. You have Trey Burke, who actually I'm a fan of now. He's in New York. He can put up some decent numbers there. You got Frank Ntilikina. But if those pieces all work out, you have a healthy Porzingis coming up for 2019-20, they can potentially go out there and get a free agent to join that cast. And the city is still New York. It may be bright lights, big city, lots of losses, but at the same time, with the star in, and so they might be able to make it to playoffs, especially in the watered down East. The other latest news, of course, is going to be the Lakers. Everybody's going to be on that bandwagon nowadays because they got LeBron. Big deal. That is a very big deal. I am a Laker fan. I'm originally from Los Angeles. But I think the Lakers are going to end up towards the bottom half of the Western Conference playoff standings. And I'm going to give you my reasons for that later on. And it really relies more not on LeBron or the core that was already there, but more the pieces they brought in to fill out that roster. We'll jump into that here in a second. But coming up now, we're going to look at our predictions for the East and the West playoff. We'll start with the East. My number one predicted seed will be the Boston Celtics, and mainly because they have just so much talent. This is a team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7, and lost to, of course, the LeBron-led team because he dominated the East for so long. But they did that without their two best players, without Kyrie Irving and without Gordon Hayward for the entire season. He was out of that broken ankle. Now that they have everybody back, this is the only team in the East that goes too deep in almost every single position. Not just too deep, but too deep of starting caliber players. So if anyone gets hurt, someone can quickly come in, pull up the stack. You have, if Irving misses some time, you got Terry Rozier. If Jaylen Brown misses some time, you got Marcus Smart can plug in there to play defense, to get scrappy, start a fight or two, and you need guys like that on your team. Which is why I think the Boston Celtics will be the number one seed, win somewhere between 55 and 60 games, and will probably challenge the Golden State Warriors for that title at the end of the season. Now, my number 2 seed predicted will be the Philadelphia 76ers. Reason why is the Sixers have so much talent within their stars. Joel Embiid might be the second coming of Hakeem Olajuwon, and he actually might be better because he can shoot that jumper. Now, if Ben Simmons can get a jumper, he'll be better than Magic. That's a huge prediction, but it's 100% possible. He's 6'10". He can handle the ball like he's about 6 foot. He can make all the passes. He can rebound. He can even defend. He's a very underrated defender, which I think is going to be something that you should look out for this season. He might challenge for an all defensive team spot if it's up to his potential. Then my number 3 seed will be the Milwaukee Bucks. In 2 words, why is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Pretty sure I'll butcher that somehow, but hey, shit happens, so does everybody else. He's about as unstoppable a player as you're going to see in today's NBA. He's 6'11", possibly still growing, with arms like a tree, and he can handle the ball. He's adding a jump shot to his repertoire, and he's probably going to lead his team in points, rebounds, assists, block shots, steals, you name it, Giannis is going to do it. Now, they may move some pieces there sometime throughout the season. I think Chris Middleton should stay there. He's about as close as you can be to an all-star without actually making the team. But you may need to find some way to fill out that bench a little bit because they don't have a whole lot of depth. I would be on the lookout for them to move Malcolm Brogdon at some point this season. Now, my number 4 seed, I have the Toronto Raptors. Now, the Raptors were a very good team last year. They did fire their coach, and they did trade DeMar DeRozan, but at the same time, they got back a healthy Kawhi Leonard, who, when he's healthy, is a undoubtedly top 5 player in the NBA. And they have a pretty strong bench. Keep an eye out for Siakam, as he's going to be one of the most improved players in the NBA this season. His confidence is going to grow, and they should finally find a way to put Serge Ibaka on that bench because he's a little bit past his prime and is just not going to get it done with them starting at the 4. For my number 5 team, we have the Washington Wizards. Now, a healthy John Wall is about as dangerous a point guard as you can have in the NBA. When he's right, he's top 5 point guard in the league, hands down. Bradley Beal appears to have settled into his role, and adding Dwight Howard is an upgrade, of course, over Gortat. And Gortat was servable in the role, but Dwight Howard is much more athletic, much more mobile when his back's not acting up. Now, the question there is, do they still hang on Otto Porter and Kelly Oubre? Or as the season goes on, do they break up that core, maybe move one of those 2 young pieces because they can bring back some value that could help this team stay within, move up from a 5 seed to a potential 4 seed and challenge Toronto for that spot there. Number 6, I have the Indiana Pacers. With Victor Oladipo, he's climbed up to his draft status. If you guys don't remember, he was a number 2 draft pick. And I think he's going to be able to sustain that same level of play that he did last season because he has the tools to do it. Now, they gave Miles Turner a new deal. It really was more of a show us that you can do this consistently type of deal, and then we may pay you again in 4 years, which was a good move for both parties. Based on his stats right now, what we saw from Miles Turner is essentially what he is for his career. He's about a 12 to 13 point scorer, 6 to 7 rebounds, maybe a block and a half. If he can boost those stats up to about 16, 9, 2 blocks consistently, then this will be a team to watch out for in the East that could upset some people. Now, my number 17, which might be a team that people always scratch their head and wonder how they always end up in the playoffs, but they somehow find a way, is the Miami Heat. They do not have a bona fide star on that team, but their pieces all fit very well together. Dwayne Wade is back and helping them stay a little bit more relevant from a fan base standpoint, but this team is scrappy. They always find a way to win by playing defense. The question is, can they shoot the 3 well enough for them to be able to hang in the Eastern Conference? I think they will. Also, they have a chance to get Jimmy Butler, which is one of those moves that's been floated out there. If they can acquire Jimmy Butler, this team goes from a 7 seed to about a 5 seed in my book. And last but not least, the number 8 seed, I think it's going to be a toss-up between the Pistons, the Bulls, and the Cavaliers. The reason why is the Pistons and the Bulls both have a lot of young talent with a little bit of a mix of some veterans sprinkled in there. The Pistons still do have Blake Griffin, who a lot of people are starting to underrate a little bit. Blake Griffin is a playmaker at the 4 position. He can go out there and get you some buckets. He's extended his jump shot now. He still puts people in foul trouble, and now he's making his free throws at a pretty high clip. I think him and Andre Drummond make a very solid core there together. Whereas with the Bulls, you have Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, Wendell Carter. I think is going to be really nice for them. Then you throw in Robin Lopez, and also some of their other young pieces. I'm really excited about what they have going on there. Now, the thing with them is going to be, can they find a way to share the ball with each other so that they can go ahead and win on a consistent level? And my last team I think is going to be in that mix for that 8th seed, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yes, they did lose the best player on the planet when LeBron jumped over to LA. It happens. But what they do have still is a very hungry young core led by a veteran Kevin Love, who has a chance to go out there and put up 20 plus points, 10 plus rebounds again, like he did in Minnesota when he was a 26 and 13 guy. Now, if Kevin Love can produce anywhere near that clip, and if their young players, Colin Sexton, I don't have much faith in Rodney Hood, but they still do have J.R. Smith. But I think the big key piece there is Colin Sexton. This might be the most competitive player we've seen in the NBA since Russell Westbrook, maybe even going back to Kobe. This guy's competitive nature is through the roof. He once took a team that only had 4 players playing and almost won a game single-handedly. That tells you about how competitive that kid can really be. So, to recap, my Eastern Conference predictions will be, of course, we have the Boston Celtics number 1, the 76ers number 2, Milwaukee Bucks at 3rd spot, Toronto Raptors and coming in at 4, Washington Wizards 5th, Indiana Pacers at 6, Miami Heat at 7, and fighting for that 8th seed, the Pistons, Bulls, and Cavaliers. Now, that's about our time for today. We will be back on Thursday with my predictions for the Western Conference. You guys can tune into that. Make sure you subscribe down below. Hit the notification link. And again, my name is Tony Ramsey. This is the weekly NBA Pull-Up. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for what's coming up next. Appreciate you guys. Peace out.